Melissa, you are the president and general manager of FanDuel, Sportsbook, and horse racing. You have over 25 years of experience in gaming and gambling. What do you do in terms of building culture when you have such a diverse array of the types of folks that are working for you?
I changed a lot of things. Open door policy. I don't care what level you are. If you want to come in and tell me hi, you can come in and tell me hi. It builds that relationship and it builds that trust that your team needs. I can sit there in between a game and watch a kid come out that wants to bet on horse racing, but he don't know how. You can see the look on their face. I'll just walk up, hey, you want to bet? I don't know how, and I'm like, okay, let's just start the easy way. Do you have a favorite color? Do you have a favorite number? Just making that move to make that first bet is a big help.
Melissa, thank you for coming on the show.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate your time. You are the president and general manager of FanDuel, Sportsbook, and horse racing, formerly Fairmount Racetrack. Is that correct?
That is correct.
You have over 25 years of experience in gaming and gambling.
Yes.
And you started as an accounting clerk back in 1998.
Yes.
Did you grow up loving the gaming and gambling world, or how did that happen?
So with gaming and everything, we do what's called the drop, when you drop all the money in the machines. And when you first open a casino in the state, you drop every single machine. That's back in the day, we had hard count, which was tokens, and we had soft count, which was bills. So we had a lot of free time with the 3,000 slot machines on our casino where I worked. And my curious mind, I wanted to know what created that piece of paper that ended up on my desk every day. So I would go, while we're waiting, I would go on the floor and just watch and observe and see how it's created and all that. So everything just struck my interest, so I can never get enough.
So when you first entered that casino, you didn't plan on sticking around?
No, I had no idea what it was going to be like or anything.
And then the next 25 years took you across the U.S., multiple states, of course, multiple cities, casinos. You've won many awards and accolades. Before we even step foot into that first casino, what was your life like growing up? Where did you grow up? And did you have any exposure to this industry as a kid?
I had no exposure at all. I grew up in Charlestown, Indiana, really small town, right across the river from Louisville, Kentucky. Everything. I still own a house back there. And everything, but no, I grew up, I always wanted to go to college. I always wanted, just work in an office because I always used to think they have work every day that they have to do, and I'd seen jobs where you go in, there's nothing to do, you're sitting there answering a phone, I need to keep busy. So that's, then the show Casino come out, and you watch that, and that just struck my interest. And then when they passed the law in Indiana, I'm like, I got to get in. So I had never even been to Vegas at that point, but it just struck my interest, and it was brand new and everything. I just wanted it, and I went for it. So
when you see like the world of gambling and gaming in movies, it looks very glamorous. Would you say that's the experience behind the scenes as well, to a certain extent? Like, is it fun and exciting every single day?
No, of course not every single day, but there it is, because it's something different every single day. The good thing about in the casino world, when you have your day, when the next day when you go in, your day's done. You finish every bit of that audit and everything, and then you go home. So it's something different every day. There's always a different problem. There's always a different issue, but there's always something that's exciting too, that gets your attention, and it keeps bringing you back.
That makes a lot of sense. And for yourself, being a woman in a male-dominated industry, starting as an accounting clerk to today being a president and general manager, I'm sure you've seen a lot of bumps along the road, but can you kind of give us an overview of some of the different positions you've held and maybe where in the country you've been throughout your career?
Sure. I started, like you said, as an accounting clerk. Then I was promoted to a staff accountant, and then a controller, operations accounting manager, financial accounting manager, director of finance, director of accounting and procedures, director of finance, senior vice president of finance, I came here to Fairmount as the vice president of finance and everything, and then I got promoted to the president and general manager of the company and everything. So I've seen it all. I've been, like I said, across the U.S., southern Indiana, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Globe, Arizona. Then I went back to Indiana. Then I went to Waterloo, New York. And then I came here to St. Louis area. So I've been around, I've seen them, many states and many laws and all that. I've done it all.
That's incredible. So I've got to ask then, what brought you to St. Louis after, seeing so many different parts of the country?
I have a friend, he's a recruiter, and he called me up and he said, I have something I think that you're going to like. And I'm like, I really don't want to move again, but what do you have? He goes, you're the only person I know that knows Sportsbook, horse racing, and casinos already. You already have all of that. And this place is going there. So he's like, go check it out and everything. So I flew in on Christmas Eve, believe it or not, and checked out the place, checked out the area a little bit and everything. And I loved it. And now I'm only 3.5 hours from my mom. Brought me a lot closer. So I took a chance and here I am.
Sounds like it was a perfect fit.
It was.
In terms of what your facility is today, my understanding is previously, I don't know how long ago, it was just horse racing.
Correct.
Today, it's a little more beyond that, and the plans are for it to be even more. Can you expand on where you are today and kind of where you're headed?
Sure. When I came to the property, like you said, it was just a horse track. We had simulcasts where you can bet on tracks across the world, and you can bet on our live racing when the season is going. In March 2021, I'll back up. October 2020, I got us approved to get a sports wagering license as well as a master gaming license. The sports wagering license immediately went into place. We started building, and in March 2021, I opened up the Sportsbook in there. So now you can come to the property and you can bet on any sports everywhere across the world, as well as all the horse racing stuff. And behind the scenes, it's taken a lot, the owner's taken several different routes, but we are in the process of building a casino inside as well. That takes a lot of work. We want to build it inside of one of our existing buildings. So, you have to check, is it structurally sound, underneath structurally sound as well? We do a lot of testing. IDOT now has to get involved because a lot more traffic will be coming to the property. But it's in the works on the backside that you don't see a lot of that. But I work on it every day, something every day.
So I'm not a big gambler myself. When you say sportsbook, you literally mean someone can come and gamble on like an NHL game, NBA game. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, you can come in right now and you can even place a bet right now on who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl.
Okay. And what's the benefit of someone coming in and doing that versus using, I think there's apps today that people use as well. I could be wrong.
You can do either.
Okay.
Both of them run through our property with the FanDuel. If you go, FanDuel app, or if you want to come inside, you can come inside and sit. We got all the TVs, we got live tellers, 15 machines that you can just come in and bet on the machine. If you wanted to withdraw money out of your account, you do have to come in and, if it's over a certain dollar amount, you do have to come in and get that in person. But it's the same thing. You do have the luxury of doing it anywhere out, but you can come there and do it as well.
What was the thought process there like in terms of wanting to add that to the horse racing track? Was it just purely the opportunity when Illinois allowed for that to happen, or was it kind of a part of a bigger plan?
It was part of, Illinois allow it. And if you're already approved to bring it in a casino, you might as well get the whole shebang and get the sports book in there as well. The way the law was written, our horsemen, we wanted to always take care of our horsemen. And unfortunately, that was before my time. They don't get any piece of the sports book, but with this casino coming in, they do get part of that. And that'll increase our purses, which will bring in more horses from across the world as well. People want to come in and, race at our track.
Got it. So it makes the track overall just kind of more appealing to both the horses coming in and also the customers wanting to come in.
Yes.
How difficult is it in Illinois to get a license to operate as a casino or something along those lines? It's
pretty difficult. There's background checks that you have to, go through and everything. That's one thing when I came to the property, I took over. They had hired an attorney that was doing that. I'm like, I've done this for years, so I just took it over and helped all the owners, because every single owner that comes in there. Every construction worker that comes in has to be vetted and those background checks checked and all that because of what we deal with.
Got it. That makes sense. So regardless of ownership percentage, any owner has to go through a similar background check. Is that
Correct.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. That makes a lot of sense, though. So when you were going through that process of getting those approvals, is that when you also started to go through the process of getting the approvals to build the casino as well, or did that come after?
Those go actually hand in hand. The Sportsbook, that we were issued that license right there. We've been proven that we can get a master wagering license, but it's not been approved yet. Until all your plans, your floor plan and everything is approved by the gaming board, then you can get that license issued once you pass that and all that. So it's a multiple step process. I have a lot of customers came in, can't you just plug that slot machine in? I would love to be able to do that, but unfortunately there's a lot on the back end with ownership and with the contractors and all that. Plus, testing the building. Can it hold the weight of all these slot machines? Can it hold the weight of slot machines and the customers and all that? So a lot of behind the scenes work.
Are there any municipal approvals as well involved with any of that, or is it all at a state level?
State level.
Okay.
And the city gets involved too because they want to, improve the road where we're at as well, which makes sense because you want to have more traffic through there. So.
Got it. That makes sense. And I know you also, aside from the plans to build the casino, you recently spent close to $1 million on some upgrades to the racetrack part of the facility. Is that
yes,
right?
We did. So we have a backside. A lot of people don't realize we have people that actually live back there. We don't close our track. It's open year round for training. We become a training facility once our meet ends. And they go back and they live back there. So the racing board mandated that I build them a kitchen back there so they can always have food available besides what we have up front. It's more convenient. There are some kids back there that go to school, so you have that food available. So it was, that piece alone was almost $800,000 that we put in building that down there. Tore down some old barns that old and were falling apart before anybody got hurt. Everything, let's get rid of them. When that casino comes in, hopefully rebuild those barns and get them going again. So,
and does something like that make the racetrack more appealing to just horses and others as well? Like
it does.
Okay.
Because some of those men that travel, they don't have to go out and get an apartment. They can stay in our dorms, and live there and have access to that food, so that they can just have a home right there instead of going out and getting an apartment and getting food, getting all that. They can have it right there and be right there with their horses. So.
That makes sense. And it's something that I've never really thought about. So that kind of leads me to, I think, a natural follow-up question, which is like, what goes on behind the scenes that the general public may not think about or know about in terms of running a casino or a racetrack or a sports book?
Lots and lots of laws and everything. We have everyone back there. We have, you want to make sure that you can get medical care. They have medical care accessible that they can get to, which we have that as well. The HBPA, they supply and help the horsemen as well. That's part of their side. You have the HBPA and you have the track. We work together. As you see, I just took a call from them. We work together as a team. Before my time, I wouldn't say there was really a team. I have made it like every year we have an annual picnic because I told them, if we don't have this front side up here, we don't have a back side. If we don't have that back side, we definitely don't have this front side. It takes both of us to be able to operate. So to bring that together and have people realize we are one team was a lot of work, but it works. And it's made an improvement. Communication, just everything, trying to get new people in and all that. They know they can call me and everything, and we work together.
It sounds like you put people first. So I've got to ask you then, what do you do in terms of building culture when you have such a diverse array of the types of folks that are working for you?
I get that question a lot because, when I tell people all the time, imagine coming to a place and taking charge and there were no rules in place. If you didn't want to come to work, you didn't come to work. So to change that culture, that's been tough. But just, over the holiday weekend, I got several texts from my people that said, you're the best boss ever. You actually listen to us and everything. So I changed a lot of things. Open door policy. I don't care what level you are. If you want to come in and tell me hi, you can come in and tell me hi. That's just how I am with that. But it builds that relationship and it builds that trust that your team needs, and they know they can rely on you.
With an open door policy, how do you kind of set aside time to get deep work or important work done? Not to say that, talking to folks isn't important, but how do you set aside focus time if at any moment someone on your team can come and, not to say bug you, but just take some of your time?
If I'm tied up, an appointment, meetings or whatever, my admin, she's pretty good at screening those, and she'll stop them, but she'll immediately tell me, hey, this person wants to talk to you, and I'll go find them. Just go find them. And you know what? They would just wanted to say hi, but they needed that attention for a minute, and you do that. Once you do that, you're going to learn so much more about your team than if you sat back in that office and not communicate with them. I tell people all the time, you can see some of my press releases and all that. If you take the time to listen to your people, you'll learn more than what you see. So I tell everyone that because you learn so much, so much.
That makes a lot of sense. And also in your position, you're not able to be truly boots on the ground. So I'm sure that gives you a real sense of what's going on the ground or on the casino floor, or not casino floor, the racetrack floor, if you will.
You'll find me, though, every race day. I'm right there in the winner's circle. I'm right there with that winning horse. So I could talk to the groom. That's the ones that take care of the horses. Okay. Owners, trainers, people that they bring in, they always want to introduce. And my staff will even say, if you're looking for her, she's always in the winner's circle. So if you come to the track and you want to talk to me, come to the winner's circle, because I will say hi.
So have you always been passionate the way you are about the horse raising part of
definitely. Over in Indiana, I worked at tracks over there. When we were Centaur Gaming, they're not there anymore. They were bought out. But we had Indiana Grand and Hoosier Park, standardbred and thoroughbred horses and everything. I've always said that, just horses are so passionate to communicate with, and and it's so funny. I can walk up to a horse and when I first came, I went up to one, just started petting it right away, and the owner was like, no, you got to be careful, that horse bites. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She just loved me, just rubbing on her. He walked in her stall and she tried to bite him. She don't like men. And they know. That's how smart. They really know, and they can sense if you're scared, they're scared. So they know that they can sense that from you when you walk up.
That's interesting. I've never heard of a biting horse, but I'm sure it's relatively common.
Yeah, you look at any of my social media, you'll see me. I'm always with the horses out there. They love, because I'm always talking to them and communicating, and it's like they listen. Unlike some employees, no.
So you're the horse whisperer.
That's what they call me.
Oh, really?
It is.
There you go.
Yes.
When you came into what was then, it had just become FanDuel. Was it a challenge, aside from putting in processes or a little more structure? Was there any challenge to where you had to maybe push top line revenue or push the NOI or try to turn it around? Or was it already pretty well running and you just came and took it from like an 8 to a 10, if you will?
Oh, no, I would go from a 3 to a 10, to be honest, because there was a lot of expenses, that we could cut back on. A lot of people don't realize, your number one expense that can kill a company is your payroll. It can get out of control and you don't even know, because if these people are working, and are they really working? You know what I'm saying? So to dig into the books and look at everything is exactly what I had to do to learn what goes on there. And it was kind of to my advantage and all, but I started at the company in January 2020, and then March we had COVID, and the governor shut us down and we couldn't even race. Then when we could race in September, we had to race spectator free. So I still couldn't even bring my staff back. So I had really a whole year without any staff there, so I could dig in. It gave me more time to learn and focus on what needed to be taken care of.
What were some of the things you found, like in terms of efficiencies with using the team and maybe better usage of their time?
There's a lot with that said, do we need 2 buildings open? Back then, we did not. However, in today's world, we do have it available where you can come into the grandstand building, but it's technically not open, where I staff it with employees for the tellers, because we don't have that many people that come in. But I have to have a place, because in the clubhouse building where the sportsbook is, you have to be 21 to bet over there. So I do have it open and somebody can take care of you, but it's not staffed fully. So just cutting back on expenses where you know you can cut back.
And I'm sure it's a balancing act when you're cutting some expenses. You don't want to impact the guest experience, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I got lots of compliments when I came because our, as simple as cleaning the restrooms, in the wintertime they laid off the laborers. I now call them EVS workers, environmental services, instead of just laborers, because that's what they do. But I didn't lay them 100% off in the wintertime. I keep them on so that we have that reputation now it is clean. And a lot of people will come and tell me they see a difference. So.
And what kind of things do you do to kind of measure that guest or customer feedback? Do you send out surveys or anything along those lines?
We don't have anything. We don't have a database where we collect information. A lot of horsemen are superstitious. You may not know that if you know that, but they are. So there's no database or anything. Word of mouth, and like I said, listen. They all know. I even go out and just talk to the customers just to learn them and all that. But you learn a lot just from listening to them talk, because they'll tell you they're not shy.
Sure. Your Google reviews were your rating, I think, was like 4.5 out of 5, which is stellar. So I'm sure all the great things you guys do reflects in those reviews. But it sounds like you don't really make it a true effort to push that on anyone in terms of, hey, will you leave a review or anything like that?
Right. Absolutely. I don't make it known that, hey, we clean, the restrooms are clean now. No, it's just common, and they go in and they've noticed the changes that have been made there.
How do you attract your clientele or your guests? Is it online marketing? Is it direct mail? How do you typically handle that? There's
no direct mail. Like I said, we don't have a database or anything, but we are on every social platform there is out there, and it has increased tremendously. My marketing guy that does that, and Alex, he takes it over, and there's posts multiple times a day. Not too many. You don't want to lose the interest because there's too many out there to follow, but we make sure to put something out there. I also brought in what I call Team Member Tuesday, and I recognize a team member every Tuesday, and it goes on all of our platforms as well. So just that little bit, they see that we give not only the customers the attention, but the team members get it as well.
I like that, Team Member Tuesday. It's a great way to say thank you, for the hard work they do. It sounds like your background was primarily finance.
That's
so
right.
Marketing, for example, is maybe not your area of expertise. So are you able to handle the different functions of the business because you're able to delegate and also trust the people on your team? Or how do you kind of look at your leadership and management style?
I'm involved in everything. I'm just that type. But I do bring in those people that have the expertise level. He's, that's what he does, is social media and all that. He concentrates on. He is the race marketing manager. He gets involved in everything. He'll find an idea and bring it to me. What do you think about this? Nothing goes out without my approval, obviously. Same way with food and beverage. They come up with a new menu or a new idea and bring it to me and bounce it off of me. Do we make changes? Do what they say? Sometimes it goes both ways. Or I add to what they've, brought it to me and all that. But no, I bring in the expertises for their, that area.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And are you using like key performance indicators or anything like that to measure success or output with some of your departments and team members?
We don't have it yet. However, I've had it in my past at different casinos. It will be brought in because, it is a very, very helpful tool to have there, and it gets out some of that garbage you don't need.
And what would you measure in some of your previous roles? What's important to a casino or a racetrack?
With the casino, obviously, you want to bring that customer back, and you want to bring that customer and give them a wow experience. If they don't have that wow experience, if you open up a casino with all used slot machines that doesn't have a brand new one out there, they're not coming back because you're not putting any money into it. So you want to make sure, always be thinking ahead, what gives them that wow experience, because that's what's going to bring them back. The same thing with horse racing. If I don't increase those purses to get the attention of the trainers and the owners to get them in there, they're not going to bring their horse there to race. They're going to go somewhere else that's going to offer more money and more perks and all that. So you always got to be on top of, can we increase the purses this year? And when that casino gets there, there's, it's a percentage-based scale that's already, that the state put out there. So those purses are going to increase no matter what.
You mentioned it before too, and I'll say this is for the listener or the viewer and not for myself, even though it's probably for myself. The purses, when you mentioned that, what is that exactly?
The purse is actually the money that's paid out for a race.
Okay.
So it's called a purse. Yeah.
Got it. That makes sense.
Like, in a casino, you win the slot machine and a taxable, or they call it a signer, which is $1,200 or more. Everything. In horse racing, the money that they win is called the purse.
Okay, so it would make a lot of sense that the word of mouth would really spread if you have the larger purses.
Absolutely. That's what that gets their attention to bring them in.
Yeah. What else would you say can attract people to a casino, a racetrack, just in general? Like in our business, for example, in the apartment world, curb appeal, it's, your customer service, it's maybe the amenities you have, whether it's a swimming pool, fitness center, whatever the case is. What would you first look at if you were maybe looking at a new casino or racetrack and maybe wanting to turn it around? What's some of the low-hanging fruit?
First thing is customer service. If they don't get good customer service, they're not coming back. They can go, we have lots of options in this state. They can go, you can actually go to the gas station now. You're not going to win a taxable jackpot there, but you can go right up the road, there's Casino Queen, there's Alden Bell, go across the river, in Missouri, there's all that. So customer service has to be your number one priority and all that. And then the second thing, as you said, is your amenities. What's your comp structure look like? What can I come and spend to, maybe get a free meal when I come back? So people look at all of that in the casino world, and what brings them back is what you have to offer.
So it's not just the dollar amount, it's also the little things like a free meal or something along those lines?
Right, absolutely, because that's what's in it for me. What's in it for me to come back to Fairmount Park when I can go to Casino Queen?
Right. And most people that are gambling, I think they understand that the house always wins, if you will. So how do you make the experience fun or try to promote a fun experience so that it's not necessarily about just winning a bigger jackpot? It's about just going out and having a good time.
Again, that comes with your customer service of your employees, because when you win and they get excited with you, they know, they really pumped me up for that. They helped me get that juices going there because, I've got all that money coming in. It's the same thing with horse racing. When you come up and you place that bet and then it wins, when you come back and they're like, oh, I see, I told you to box that in. That's what got you to, things like that. Build that relationship with your customers, because that's what helps you grow your business.
How do you kind of promote that within the organization? Because it's one thing to say great customer service, but what does that mean in your world?
They like I said, I'm always out there, and the management team, we have staff meetings and everything, and we teach them as well what to look for. Do long lines? What can we do to help that line? We got to keep in communication with the announcer. If we still have a long line, you don't want that race to go off and these people didn't get their bets in, because then they're going to say, well, they're not letting me. So communication, always out there on the floor, what I say, even if you're outside on the apron, because you can bet outside. We have live tellers out there. You just got to always know and be on your game. Where we at? Can we go off in time? Same thing on a casino. Can this person come over here and win this game when they're over here when they're playing this game? You just got to watch and you just got to balance it out.
In your career, have you ever been at a casino or something similar to where the customer service wasn't a priority and maybe you had to push to change that culture?
Absolutely, because it's really bad for me if I go into a casino, especially in the finance area, the cage, and just recently, I was with someone, they were setting up a card at, I won't say the casino name or anything, but they went up for the, customer service to, hey, can you help me with this? I don't know what that means. Just take the time and look for a minute. You had 4 windows open. Somebody could have went around. There was nobody there. It was early in, in the middle of the night. But take time to look that up. Just say, I don't know what that means. You're going to have to go over here, but you got to wait till they open. Dig in and learn, because that's how I learned to grow. I know not everybody wants to do that, but that's going to help you, and it's going to help your scores, and for a customer to come back. And if I come back in there and I want to cash out my money and you're the only one working, guess what? I'll just hold it and come back at another time. So
that makes sense. I can see that happening. Like, you can go to one fast food place versus another, and the customer service difference it's night and day, and it's the simple things like just being able to or willing to look something up, like you were saying. I can totally see that. So it sounds like in the casino or gaming world, there's no standardized format for how to run a floor or an operation. Is that accurate?
I wouldn't say there's none, because they're all per se the same. And once you're behind the scenes and working it, and you've been to multiple, you'll notice that it clicks. But you can make it more fun per se, because one casino I worked at, we made it fun because we were all working on swing shift, which was up till midnight, 1 in the morning. Hey, let's all make our clothes match, because management they're in clothes, so you know who you're talking to. Let's make it pink night. So everybody, we decided if you want to participate, it didn't matter if you didn't want to participate, we still had to work. But, the ones that did and make it fun, hey, we're green tonight, things like that. Just make it fun and communicate. That way, we're in sync, we're talking, we're communicating, and all that. So you can make it as fun as you want, or you can make it as dull as you want. I like to make it fun.
Right. You might as well if you're out there anyways.
Right. Right, because, you want that night to go by fast. You don't want it to drag. So
what's your typical customer look like? Like, do they fit one profile in terms of age, or is it all across the board for the most part?
It's interesting that you asked that, because at the track, horse racing, the king of sports, is older generation does the horse racing. But they're trying to get the younger generation in there. Bringing in that Sportsbook has brought in a lot of younger. Now, I can be, if you've been to our track, you'll know there's a penalty box area that's simulcasting. And right next to it is a Sportsbook. I can sit there in between a game and watch, I call them kids, kid come out that wants to bet on horse racing, but he don't know how. You can see the look on their face. I'll just walk up, hey, you want to bet? I don't know how, and I'm like, okay, let's just start the easy way. Do you have a favorite color? Do you have a favorite number? Just to walk them through, what's a $2 bet? If, that way it shows them how to bet. Then when you get a program, there's more details of how you want to bet, if you want to box it, you want to trifecta, things like that, that they can get deeper in. But just making that move to make that first bet is a big help.
That's a great point, because I actually don't know how to bet on horses myself. So if I were to show up, I can simply ask somebody and they would walk me through it?
Yep, absolutely. And eventually, I've wanted to do it since I've been there, is have a person switch them out, all the hours, but how do I bet? Because we're getting that younger generation in, they don't know how. But I teach them that a lot. Do you have a favorite color? Do you have a favorite number? We can start that way. Do you know anything about the track? Do you want to go East Coast, West Coast? Where do you want to bet from? We find it on the TV. Look at the race, look at the horses. A lot of people say always bet a gray horse. They've heard that. That helps. Favorite number, depending on how many horses are in there. Thoroughbreds always have standard colors. Red is 1, things like that. The 6 is the black or the gold. The 8 is the pink. So they always have standard colors that you can follow at any track and all that. So that helps you. That's why I always say you have a favorite color. And if you have a favorite number, however many horses are in a race, usually 10 to 12. It's rare to have 12 and all that, but we have a lot of 10-horse fields here. But pick the number, and then you go up and, pick your track, East Coast, West Coast, wherever you want to go, and then walk you through. Once you do that, then they get, it breaks the ice. They'll go back.
That makes sense. You mentioned the 10 horses, so that kind of, I think, brings me to what I wanted to ask you as well was, is there an ideal setup for a horse race or an ideal cadence to horse races that will help it be funner for the guests, but also more profitable for the company or the casino? So like, for example, is it 10 horses once a week at 1 p.m. on a Sunday or something like that? Is there any sort of math or equation that you guys follow?
There is. Obviously, it's however many people enter the race. The more, the better. Because you don't want it, when you get down to a 4-horse field, there's not much competition there. And if someone scratches where they don't run that horse, then you're down to 3, and then you can't bet all the bets that you can normally bet. So 8 to 10 is your typical want to have a race that size. Now our track When you apply for your license at the state every year, you pick your time and you pick your days.
Oh.
So in September every year, I go in front of the racing board, and like, for instance, this past year for 2024, I wanted to do the same thing as did this year. We're going to race 62 days, which is every Tuesday with a 1 o'clock post time, and every Saturday night with a 7:30 p.m. post time. With the exception of the Kentucky Derby Day, we run that race at 1 o'clock. But with that day, that's been our times. It's nothing to have 3,000 people at my track on a Tuesday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We call it Horse Hooky Tuesday, and there's a lot of hooky that goes on. Because a lot of people love Horse Hooky Tuesday. $1.50 beer, $1 hot dogs, it's kind of hard to pass up.
Yeah. What's your capacity? At 3,000 is a lot of people.
That is a lot of people. However, we have inside and outside. More outside. If it's hot, they'll go inside. That when a race goes off, they're all outside. It's amazing to watch them come out to the fence and cheer and hear them cheering on. If you've not done it and you haven't seen it, I tell everyone you need to do it at least once.
Yeah, so. I will plan on it. I think you're the only horse racetrack in the St. Louis region. I could be wrong, but I've never heard of any others.
There's Hawthorne Racetrack up in Chicago.
Okay.
And then they used to have Arlington Race Park up there that closed and everything. So now the only two in the state is Hawthorne and Fairmount or FanDuel go by the same name for both of them.
So I'm sure then you find people traveling to visit from, maybe 3-4 hours away as well, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. People from Indiana will come over. There's no horse racing in Missouri, so those people come over and all that.
And is that due to regulations? Why there aren't any in Missouri?
Yes, they haven't passed the law. So just like a casino, you have to bet, you have to vote to get it passed, and they haven't passed it over there.
So with all the rules, regulations, laws, and various things you need to follow, red tape, if you will, is there some sort of software that helps you manage all of that, or industry-specific software?
Not for that. Basically, they have to vote it in. The people, you have to vote it in.
No, but just in terms of for yourself, all the reporting requirements that you may have, is there something that you use?
You do pick a software for your slot system and your table game system and everything, and it does, you build it for your monthly reports. Each state is different on what they require. Indiana, for instance, you pay your taxes daily. What I've experienced right now with the horse racing, you pay it daily. It's just off a little bit from the way we did the taxes in Indiana. Sports wagering taxes, we pay monthly. So it's different with every one of them.
How did you see that kind of change or morph over the years? Is it a lot easier now versus 20 years ago in terms of that daily reporting?
Building up those reports has made it a lot easier. Yeah, because back in the day, we used to do a lot of, this don't balance, so a lot of pencil and paper out there. But now you can, easily track it back and all that. So it's increased and made it for the better for everyone.
Sure. So potentially less payroll cost on that side.
Yes.
Got it. That makes sense. With the improvements that you've already done, the casino that's kind of in the works, can you give us maybe an idea of when the casino approval will be done and you'll be up and running?
There's a lot of approvals that you go through with the gaming board and everything, your floor plan, your camera plan, just everything has to be approved, as well as what's internal controls and everything. So once we get, right now, we're still testing the ground, working with IDOT for the parking lot and things like that. Once you have all of that red tape done, then you can start submitting packages to the gaming board for approvals. Once they approve everything, you go in front of them again and say, I'm ready to present this. Can we now start building? And that's when you can start your construction.
So at this point, it's up in the air. Is that fair to say?
That's correct, yeah.
And no fault of your own.
Right. I push it. That's what I was brought here for. I push it every day. I want it just as bad as anybody.
Do you kind of do site visits to other casinos or other gaming facilities in order to prep for your future plans or even any changes that you're thinking of? Oh,
absolutely. Everybody wants to see what everybody else is out there doing. A lot of people go to Vegas a lot because you got all the different companies out there and you can see the different items that they're bringing in. Do you think it would work in Illinois? Will you think it would work on our property? We have a low ceiling. Those things like that you always have to talk through and look at.
So the low ceiling that you just mentioned, that's something I never would have thought of. Is it an option to maybe increase your ceiling height, or would that require you essentially tearing apart the whole building?
It would tear apart the whole building. And since we're going inside of an existing building, we can make it work. That you just won't have the big signs that they have in Vegas for like a progressive slot machine where it shows all this money on there. You just won't have that up there as high and everything. So you just make it work with what you have, unless you're building a new build, then of course you adjust and make it that where you can have those out there.
This may be like a little early in the conversation, but since you're not approved for it yet, but would you typically prefer to buy or lease the equipment and machines?
You always do both. You always do both because some games that are lease games you can never buy, but that's what the customer wants to play. I mean, there's several of them out there, those big names that draws your attention. They're never going to sell those. They're always going to be a lease. So your floor is going to be both. So
those companies that own the rights or create those, they just don't allow anyone to buy them.
Correct.
Wow.
And, they make money off of that because you're leasing it by day from them. But you're making money, too, because that's what they want to play. So. Right.
Yeah. And then for every dollar that goes in there or whatever the case is it a revenue split as well? Or is it just you're paying, a monthly lease amount?
Everyone's different. Everyone's different.
What's more typical in your industry?
It's more like based off how much play the machine gets and everything. So they look at that. Follow the meters.
A lot of math.
Yes. Yes.
Which would explain your background.
Yes. Lots and lots of math.
Do you have a typical head count in terms of just your overall number of team members needed? Is it based on revenue? Is it based on number of games you have? In our industry, it's more so based on the number of apartments. Every 100 apartments, you may need 2 team members, for example. Do you have any metric like that in your industry?
There is out there, you can hire, say, we like to call it penny alley. One slot attendant could probably handle that whole section. Now, back in the day, it was always different. But then now with technology increasing and getting better for everyone, one could probably handle that whole section, plus another one, depending on how you build your floor. So yeah, absolutely, you just watch how, like I said, it's the placement and the build that determines how many team members you need. Got it.
So again, everything just kind of comes down to math.
It does. It does.
Given that most people don't have the privilege to work in the gaming industry, do you have any just exciting moments that really come to your mind that you just can't forget from throughout your 25 years of experience?
There's been a lot. At one casino I worked at, we could hear the casino floor in our office. And just to hear that customer scream, and you go out there and they won $20, there's all kinds. I've been on the back end, I've dealt with a lot, theft, have dealt with that. I've done investigations myself. To the excitement of, like I said, hearing that customer to go out and see, because you think they won $20,000, it was $20, but that's what you want, and you want to push it and all that, because that's going to bring them back.
The theft piece is an important one, I think. For every business today, there's so much potential for fraud and other things to occur. What are you doing, or what have you seen just in general in your industry in terms of the types of fraud or theft that are occurring and how you prevent it?
There's all kinds. We have tons and tons of surveillance. It's required. They just watch. In accounting, I've taught on, and one place I was at, I caught where, you get monthly mailers in the mail, and as long as you come in with your player's card and you don't have your coupon, we can issue that because we can pull it up and see if you redeemed it. But we had team members that once they know that, my boyfriend did this, and then this is his friend, and then all the stuff goes to the one person, and they get but being in it so long that I know the tricks and all that to tell them what to look for and put new procedures in place and audit. So,
do you ever have to ban anyone?
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. 86. Yeah, there's all kinds of reasons for that. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So if someone were to show up and they've already been banned, I'm assuming it's as easy as calling security and getting them out of there.
It is, and you get a warning at first. Now, some states will push it, because once you're banned, you get official paperwork, you're trespassing, and you can be arrested. Now, some states will push it, and you go all the way to be arrested. So, yeah, it's not fun to deal with and all, but it does happen.
Sure. Some of the more fun moments, I'm sure, are around the winners and just the excitement. So like you mentioned, the folks that were happy when they won $20. What's the biggest jackpot or purse that you've seen somebody win?
I wrote a check for over $1 million before.
Wow. How'd it feel signing that?
Yeah, that was an exciting night, and everything. But yeah, I wrote a check for over $1 million. So.
And did you ever hear from the winner again?
Oh yeah, they come back. Come back. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I'm sure that brought in a lot of new business.
Yes. Because word of mouth, they're going to get out there. They think they can do the same thing as well. So yeah.
Right. And was that at FanDuel or somewhere else?
No, that was somewhere else. Okay. It was in Indiana.
Okay. Was that in the early part of your career?
It was.
Okay.
Yeah. So, back in the day, it was called Caesars, Indiana. It's not even called that now, but it was back there. We had a guy that came in, was playing some table games, and I wrote a check for over $1 million. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Caesars, Indiana, you said?
Indiana. Uh-huh.
So is that a part of a larger conglomerate then?
Uh-huh. Yeah, each property has their own name. When I worked there, we were bought out 5 times and everything, but at the time it was called Caesars, Indiana.
Are there differences in your industry when you work for a larger company versus a smaller company? Like, there's already a lot of red tape in terms of things you need to follow with the government. So you said it was relatively standardized for the most part. Are there differences working for smaller versus larger organizations?
It is more reporting, so it depends on your corporate world and what they want from you from your property. Legal or through the state-wise, government-wise, those pretty much they have their set standards because the whole state has to follow. So those wouldn't change much unless a law changes and they put out a mass and all that. But pertaining to like each property level, it depends on your corporate and how they want things.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Before we started recording, you mentioned that you might have had a situation that you went into before where you helped to really turn a place around. Are you able to share some more on that? We touched on it a little bit, but just more in terms of, maybe what exactly your team did to turn around a place that was potentially not doing so well.
Yeah, I turned around the whole culture. The biggest thing, like I said, is, open door policy, staff meetings, communication with, your staff and all that, and making sure they're passing that information down to their staff. Bulletin boards, putting out information, this is what's happening, this is what's coming up. Something as little, I got asked the week before Christmas, hey, can we, instead of our uniform this week, can we wear Christmas sweaters? Something that small and all that. Absolutely, we can put out an email, please post in all areas and tell your team members, I've approved that we can wear Christmas sweaters instead of uniform, that. So
that's awesome. So the little things really matter.
Absolutely. That's what they pay attention to.
And it sounds like a lot of your messaging in previous organizations, current organization, is meetings, posting, like you said, on bulletin boards, and not so much just getting pushed through software. Do you think that personal touch, face-to-face interaction, posting something someone can physically see makes a big difference?
A huge difference. I went as far as we have our own print shop. And I mailed everyone a Christmas card, and you get a birthday card. People that post, they'll go out and they'll post that on Facebook. They'll tag me in it. Thank you so much for the card. I got it and all that. They never had that before. It's just that personal touch. and I sign every single one of them that goes out to the team members and all that. Give them that recognition. They deserve it. This summer I celebrated a team member that's worked at the track 60 years. 60.
Wow.
60 years he's worked there at the track.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yes. That's one thing there is we have longevity. I can tell you several off the top of my head that's the only job that they've ever had, so they've been there 40, 45 years and all that. But lots of longevity.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
In terms of like the birthday cards, for example, how many are you writing in a year? What's your, how many team members do you have approximately?
Just under 400.
Okay. So almost every day, more or less, you might be signing a card?
No, I do it at the beginning of the month.
Okay.
The print shop will go in and they print them out. I go through and sign them. Then anybody that's currently working, I send an email out, hey, come and pick up your birthday cards for your team. And then anyone that's on leave, it gets mailed out. So that everybody's birthday is covered.
And do you have their direct manager signing it as well? Or?
Yes.
That's a great touch. I like that a lot. I think it really shows that even with 400 people, the person at the top cares.
Right. Because you're not at 400 in 1 month, you know what I mean? You're split out over 12 months. I can tell you December is my biggest month, but I do recognize, at the beginning of the month, every month, they all get that.
What else do you do just to kind of bring cohesion to a group that's that big?
We built a newsletter that we put out once a month. Again, you get some employee spotlight in there. You get the birthdays, the anniversaries, they're all put in there so everybody knows. And you would be surprised at how many people will come up to you and say, hey, happy anniversary. I didn't realize you worked here that long and all that. By just doing that little bit, put a recipe in there from our chef, because he gets some recognition as well. Sometimes I'll recognize a whole department. We put as many team member pictures in there that we have. You always have those team member pictures in stock, per se. That way you're not waiting and you can build it in newspaper and get it out.
That's awesome. I really like the chef idea. It's such a win-win, giving the chef the spotlight, but also giving some sort of like actionable piece in the newsletter for the other team members is awesome.
I always give a team member of the month and they get a reserved parking spot if they win employee of the month. And I recognize an executive team member as well.
And do they get a parking spot as well?
No. They can walk.
With the 400 team members, I'm sure even with a great culture, there's some sort of turnover. And I'm sure when you're hiring, you want to make sure that you're bringing in people that fit into the culture you've worked so hard to build. What are you doing when you're hiring in terms of any tips and tricks you're using, or just if you're doing any culture index, predictive index type of stuff as well?
We have our HR director, Leanne, will bring in, the team member. If it's a smaller group, we'll have multiple orientations. But we do an orientation where you sit down with her. That in the state of Illinois, it is required that they have sexual harassment every year. With my team members, like right now, the majority are laid off because we don't have live racing going on. But when we bring them back, we show that sexual harassment film during their orientation class, and she can communicate with everyone that comes back as well. And that way we know, and we don't have any staggering people that's left in our ADP payroll system that gets missed, because everyone has to respond to her either by email, text, a call, or anything, so she can get them scheduled to get in an orientation class. And then we know that everyone is covered.
It sounds like in your world, like in many industries, the people are the most important piece. If someone were to want to start a racetrack, casino, something along those lines, would you recommend they start with finding the right team members first as a first step, or something else?
After you go through all your approvals and everything and get going, finding the right team member for, say, a mutual clerk. Can they handle a frontline person yelling at them? It's going to be an older person that's probably placing that bet. Can they hear, and can they take the stress of them yelling at that? And so you have to look at every single thing in a team member, but you pick up on that during your interview process.
It sounds like hospitality or fast food could be a good fit in terms of industries you're hiring from. Do you target any industries, like if you're looking at someone's resume for a particular position, if they have hospitality experience, is that a real bonus for you?
It is. We look at that. We look, we need lots of security guards. The same thing with security. If somebody applies, say for sportsbook cashier, but when we look at their resume, they've worked in accounting, or like, what's bringing your attention to come here? And a lot of times you'll see, well, I just seen that position was open and I'm just trying to get in. So that's really not what they wanted. This is what they did. So we make those adjustments during the orientation process.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
Do you also do any special events or anything like that for team members? And then also, aside from for team members, if I wanted to have a special event for my team or for my family or anything at the racetrack, do you offer any services like that?
We do. We have space that we rent out. We have people that come in. We do what's called a trophy race. It's $75, but you can come into the winner's circle, up to 6 people. You actually present a trophy to the owner or the trainer who was down at the winner's circle with the horse at the end of it. So you get your picture taken with it and everything, and you get a picture mailed to you as well. So we have all kinds of events that we do. Like the 60-year team member, I absolutely did a trophy race and got as many team members out there that I could to help him celebrate.
That's awesome. Are the trophy races also on the Tuesday or Saturday, or are those?
Yes.
Okay.
On Tuesday or Saturday, because you're going to go into the winner's circle with the winning horse.
And there would never be a race outside of the Tuesday or Saturday, right?
Correct.
Like if you don't.
Correct. Yeah.
If in the middle of the year you say, hey, we have a lot of demand, we want a third race, you can't add that in?
We can have more, but when we apply at our dates application, we tell the racing board I'll at least have 7 races every day that we race. Now, when we just ended our meet, we were up to 9 races a day because Hawthorne closed their meet Labor Day weekend. So those people came down, so I've actually had more people at the track, and we could offer more races that way.
Got it. That makes sense, because when you first said, getting those approvals for the race days, it sounded like that's a lot of planning to have to do up front. And it makes it hard to pivot, but it sounds like you can pivot if you really need to.
Yes, you can never have less than you tell them, which is, so we can never go less than 7, and then we can always add more without any approvals or anything.
Makes sense. That's a lot easier. Well, it's not easy, but it's easier than what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Given your vast experience, you've won many awards, accolades, you've held various positions, you're running an incredible operation today. I have to ask you for your hole-in-one, which is the way we end each show. It's your biggest piece of advice that you can give to someone that they can implement today, whether it's in their personal life or their business.
Again, I'll go back to, I said it earlier, but I tell everyone, take the time to listen to your team members. You will learn more than what you can see. And it doesn't take a half an hour. You know what? It takes them maybe 5 to 10 minutes max if they want to tell you something, but you're going to learn a lot more just from that little piece of information that they get. Always take the time to listen. So,
and what's your listening advice? How can we be better listeners?
Follow up. It doesn't matter what they tell you. It could be about a family member. It could be about something on the job. It could be anything. But the next time you see them, you call them by their name and you follow up from that conversation that you had.
That's a great piece of advice. I can totally see how that would be so impactful in helping people feel heard and also feel cared for. Is there anything else that folks should know about you, about FanDuel? Where can they learn more or reach out if they'd like to? Yeah,
always follow our social media. We put everything pertaining to the races and team members out on social media. Obviously, Facebook is the most popular and everything, but Alex is on that every day, making posts. I know that he's doing now a countdown, how many days till live racing, because everyone gets excited for the live racing. But always watch our social media. And what's the social media link? I'll add it in the description as well, but is there just a general term they can search for? It's Fairmount Park. Okay. It's under that Facebook page. Okay. We also have the website, same thing, www.fairmountpark.com. Has everything about racing, dining, the sportsbook, anything. If we show an MMA fight in there, it's always going to be on our website as well. Awesome. That sounds good. Melissa, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Thank you for having me out. It's been great. And so.